jak? Slyší mě ostatní, kromě Alka, takhle v zadních řadách. Ahoj, já jsem Draky. Je tu někdo, kdo nikdy nebyl na Ufolněte se, prosím, ruce nahoru? Paráda. To jsem rád, že se obchodí ještě někdo další. Já se snažím o takovou talk show. Původně to začalo představováním zajímavých fanů ostatním fanům a nakonec z toho vylezla taková zkrátka talk show s fanovskýma tématama, co v tuhle chvíli fičí, nebo lidi, kteří jsou tady zajímaví. A v létě na FFku jsme si vyzkoušeli i formát s hercema, který je netlumočený, tímto se dopředu omlouvám všem, kteří nevládnou tu angličtinu tolik, ale já věřím, že případně soused vám nějaký ten geniální for objasní. Aspoň se ukáže, že tomu taky nerozuměl. Ale je to taková trošku reakce na ty tlumočený pořady, který to trošku zdržuje, to tlumočení a tak, takže aspoň tohle je čistě v angličtině. Tyhle talk show mají začínat nějakým takovým jako vtipným vystoupením moderátora. Mě s tím hrozně moc pomáhaly novinky.cz, který v podstatě stačilo přetiskovat, aniž by člověk musel udělat cokoliv, jo? Prostě co to bylo cizí, co to bylo vlastní a fungovalo. Jenomže novinky.cz asi před 3 dnama změnili jako layout, vypadají úplně jinak a daleko hůř se tam hledají ty píčoviny. Takže mě nezbylo než udělat to, co udělali čeští novináři, a to začít si hledat informace normálně na netu. Mám tady takový příklad. Takhle se třeba dělají zprávy sportovní na Nově. Prostě napíšete tweet Martině Navrátilový, ona vám něco odpoví a máte rázem zdrojovanou zprávu. Takže místo novinek.cz mi výrazně pomohla facebooková skupina, která se jmenuje Věděli jste, že tě najzaujímavější fakty. Omlouvám se za svoji maďarštinu. Zkrátka v Německu používají údajně v okolí sanatorií pro lidi s Alzheimerovou nemocí falešní autobusové zastávky, kam chodí ty, bohužel lidi, kteří už to nemají úplně v pořádku, kteří se chtějí někam dostat, už vlastně nevědí kam, ale tak zkrátka jdou na první autobusovou zastávku a čas od času tam někdo přijede, sebere, odveze zpátky do toho důchodu. Já bych vás jenom ráda varovala a upozornila po mých loňských zkušenostech tady je zjevně jedna umístěna. Protože já jsem se odsud loni pokoušela dostat městskou hromadnou dopravou. Asi ve 3 ráno. No, řeknu vám za Černým mostem je to docela pěkný. Nastoupila jsem tady do nějakého autobusu, pak si toho moc nepamatuju, nějaká tramvaj s tím mě vyhnali, další autobus a najednou jsem dala 30 minut za Černým mostem, takže už jsem si dojela na ten Černý most a normálně raním metrem domů. Takže bacha na falešní zastávky, ta nejbližší se jmenuje sídliště Novodvorská, ta vůbec jako neexistuje, nezkoušení. Další neuvěřitelně zajímavý fakt, který jsem tam objevila, je, že v Mexiku, nebo kde to mají, se objevila mezi mládeží takováhle obuv. Zjevně kdo má delší, ten je delší. A říkám si, že oproti tomu ty cosplaye, co tady nosíme, jsou úplně v pořádku, takže se fakt klidně nebojte, noste je dál, trapnější to být nemůže. No a poslední věc, to bylo dneska trošku narychlo, a navíc ty zajímavé fakty nemají těch zajímavých faktů, ze kterými se dala dělat sranda až tak moc. Tak jsem si ještě říkala, že mě nějak zbývá vyjádřit se k tomu, možná ty vás, co mě znají, dlouhý léta jsem dělala na Primě, na Kulu a podobně, a nějak teda vysvětlit to, že tam nepracuju. No, víte, každý kůl je po určitý době sezení na něm takový nepříjemný. Což mi dosvědčují tady kolegové ze srílanské televize. Prostě, ať je to cool nebo cool. Chvíli jsem se nešla jít na Slovensko, založit tam verzi jako cool, Markýza cool nebo tak. A jenomže pak mi Slováci vysvětlili, že to cool není mekčení, takže bych si nepomohla. Takže to je zhruba všechno, co jsem nějak nešku. Ještě toho využiju, že pak vypneme projektor a upozorním vás na nějaký další pořady, který dělám na FanCity, a to je v sobotu v 5 hodin trojpanel s Alainou Huffman, Gary Grahamem a Garrettem Davidem Lloydem. A zítra tady budeme mít Ufolněte se, do kterého mimo jiné Invi a Alko přijdou vyprávět o svém tripu do New Yorku, kde potkali kapitánku Janewayovou, a o svém tripu do Británie, kde potkali všechny ostatní. Takže určitě přijďte, bude to zábavné. Jo, tohle je zcela nesouvisející fotka. Vůbec nevypadá jako Invi a Alko. na což se těšil, doufám, že to je. Není, paráda. Tak jestli zkusíš přijít na to, jak se vypíná.
Já jsem tam seděl úplně ideálně na
Ještě jednou? Skvěle. Tak. A teďka už se můžeme dostat k tomu, na co jste reálně přišli. A to jsou ti moji 3 hosti. A začneme paní, která mě požádala, jestli mohla jít jako první, protože tady má s sebou takovou malou opičku. A potřebovala by jít pak opičku dát uspat. Takže bych ráda přivítala herečku, kterou můžete znát ze Stargate Universe, nebo ze Smallville, nebo ze seriálu Alpha, a tou herečkou je Alaina Huffman. This is what we have in Czech Republic instead of couches in the talk shows. I googled you first for some preparation, and there was one, almost the first thing that I've seen, that Alaina, am I Alaina, okay.
Did I answer to it all?
Alaina, Alaina is your right name, but Huffman is not, and I was wondering, because your true surname is Kalanch?
Yes.
Why didn't you...
It's just my married name.
Because so you changed it, because actresses for a lot of times don't do that, and now I just realized you don't have a microphone. Skouška. That might work.
Yes. I wanted to have the same name as my kids.
I understand. Well, I'm really sorry for all the guys in the audience. Because being a mom seems like a very big part of her personality. So a lot of my questions are going to be about the kids and being an actress with so much kids as you do have. So guys, you can come and ask about the Maxim photo shoots on Alaina's separate Q&A.
This is the mom question.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have 4 kids actually. You started having kids at like 24. Isn't that to be pregnant?
It worked for me. No, I only planned one of my kids. I got the rest because I'm lucky, I guess. I always say we're gonna break whatever's working. You know, people usually fix what's broken, but nothing's broken. And so no, I think it ends up working out. When you're an actress, you don't work a whole lot. It's not, you know, even on a series on Stargate, for example, I only work about 3 or 4 days an episode, and we shoot an episode in 8 days, which translates to 10 days with a weekend. So, I mean, it's the perfect job, I think, to have kids.
But with SGU, I guess that wasn't so much planned. That wasn't the planned kid.
No, that's never the best thing to do when you get a job, is to get pregnant like the first week. I know. We got like settled in Vancouver. We live in Los Angeles. We moved to Vancouver to do this, you know, Stargate. And we were moving there, and I had a fight with my husband, and I was like, you know, you're making me nauseous. Go away. And then I realized I was pregnant. So it wasn't him making me nauseous, it was the baby. But yeah, so I called one of the producers who I became close with, and I was kind of scared to tell the other producers. And I said, you know, I'm pregnant, I didn't really plan for this, I'm really sorry. And so he said, that's okay, we'll call them in and we'll talk to them. And so they came into my trailer, and I said, you know, I was making Easter dinner, I invited a lot of people over, and then I just felt really sick. And I looked over, and Rob Cooper had this big smile on his face, and he said, well, congratulations! So, because he also has 3 kids, so he knows. But no, it's fine. It probably wasn't ideal, but I think it actually worked for the storyline, with the Young and TJ storyline, and it worked out for me. You know, by the time we wrapped the first season, I had 1 month before I had the baby, and then when we came back from hiatus, the baby was 3 months old, so I couldn't have planned it better myself.
Yeah, and is it true that you managed to become pregnant again during rolling of the second season?
No.
No.
No, they kept joking. They're like, oh, when's the baby coming, Alaina? And I was like, oh, no, I'm not having any more kids. And then when we wrapped, I got pregnant again.
So I guess you like being pregnant.
Yeah. It just keeps happening to me. I read somewhere, you're never supposed to read comments about you online, but I read something that someone was like, well, I can see why she gets knocked up all the time. So I don't know if that's a compliment or what, but
yeah, I guess it was. But they managed in the end to incorporate it as a story, as kind of a storyline, quite interesting one with the child being Colonel Youngs.
Yep.
And then the character loses the baby actually in the battle at the end of the season 1.
yes.
That must have been so hard for you to play, to you know, because I guess as an actress you have to kind of go through these feelings.
Yeah.
And for you as a pretty fresh mother,
Yeah.
it must have been so hard.
I think that, first of all, they were very respectful of my pregnancy, and we didn't really deal with the after effect until, and this was their comments. I said, so what's going to happen to the baby in season 2? And they said, we'll deal with movie babies when real babies are healthy. And so they were very respectful of that. And I think that doesn't happen a lot. I think a lot of producers make these big, you know, scary things happen, and it is quite emotional. So for me to play the way TJ was pregnant was very different than my own. I'm married, I have other kids, and she, you know, had an affair with her colonel who's married, and it's very, very different. And they're stuck in space. I mean, it's very different.
Okay, but there's another strange thing that I found out, that you tweeted during your labor.
I twerked. Yeah, and that was another funny thing. Someone's like, "Oh, her assistant probably was tweeting." I'm like, "Who brings? I don't have an assistant. First of all, I would like a nanny, but I don't. And second of all, who brings an assistant to their delivery?
Well, who brings a phone and tweets about it?
Yeah, they tell you to bring music and books and clothes and snacks. Why not Twitter? You have hours just sitting there waiting. Yeah, it's just a few characters.
Well, back to the SU, the TJ character. I've read that originally it was supposed to be of Asian origin. So I guess you must really have nailed the audition with this advantage of being Caucasian.
Yeah, that you know, Sci-Fi loves to do, well, actually all the networks do, but particularly Sci-Fi has always been very diverse in casting, and that's true. The TJ role was supposed to be ethnic of some sort, not Caucasian, and I originally did not read for TJ. Oh, actually I did, and then they called and said, you know what, we want to make TJ an ethnic role, we want her for Chloe, and I said no. I was like, I don't think I'm a Chloe. And then they were like, well, just try anyway. So I read for it, and I really wasn't feeling it, and neither were they. And so they called me back, and they were like, okay, we're gonna give her the role of TJ, and then they were trying to switch the Chloe role to see, and then I think Elise just nailed it, and so they ended up with some white girls. I don't know what to say.
And with TJ, she comes from a very poor background, so she wasn't able to get a proper medical education on her own.
Right.
So she chose U.S. Air Force as the best option to go there and become a medical rep. Do you think you would be able to do something like that for acting? To go for U.S. Air Force? If they would have an acting school or...
Well, I think the first part of that is that acting is like really one of the only careers you can say you're an actor without ever having acted or getting a job or having any training. So, you know, there are tons of options to train as an actor. I'm not sure the Air Force is one of them. But you never know. They might have a creative program in there. Yeah, no. Probably not.
I guess so. And And does you allow your kids, do you allow your kids to watch you on TV?
Yeah, oh yeah, my kids will watch, they don't really get it. They're starting to now. My oldest is 8, and he kind of understands that I'm an actor and that I'm on TV, but for the I spend most of my time trying to get a job. So I have a lot of auditions, right, or meetings or whatever. So a lot of times, you know, I'll tell the kids when I drop them off at school, okay, well, I'm going to pick you up a little bit late today because I have a meeting at 3 o'clock, and, you know, I'll be there at 3:30 or whatever. And we live in Burbank, and a lot of my friends work at the studios and whatever, and a lot of their friends' parents work at Disney. And so my husband's always like, my son is always like, can't you just get a job at Disney? And I'm like, no, it's different, honey. I don't work at a desk. I'm an actor, and yeah. So they're starting to get it, but they were afraid of Stargate. You know, it's very dark, so they didn't really watch that. Not much of it. They actually were afraid of Smallville too.
That's a kids show, isn't it?
It's a Superman show, but it does have superheroes, and you know they didn't really want to watch that. Forever, my daughter's favorite movie was Mighty Joe Young, which is Charlize Theron, and my daughter Hannah, who's here, when she was like 2, she would call that Mommy's movie. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'll be Charlize Theron now.
And how do you explain them what you're doing for a living?
They think I go to work and eat candy, because that's what we do. Because when they come to see me at work, and they come a lot, or they come with me on trips like this, and usually there's a lot of food, and there's, you know, there's lots of guns. They love to see the guns. And they don't ever actually see me work. They don't get that I do for work. So one day they'll get it.
And weren't you afraid, after being on Smallville, then on SGU, then on Alphas, that you're gonna get a little bit genre casted?
No, I think, listen, it's really, really hard to get an acting job. It's just, you know, audition after audition, and no after no after no, and I test for big network shows, and I think that you're going to get a job whether you're going to get a job or not, whatever network it's on. And really right now, the networks are so, everyone's really competing for those like coveted, you know, Emmy Award spots. And so there's a lot of competition, and it really doesn't matter what network you're on. I think as long as you're doing great shows and you're in a good company, you're going to be fine. Sorry, just to add to that, I just finished a movie of the week where I play like the love interest. There's no like ass kicking, there's no guns, there's no costumes. So
it's not set in the future.
It's not set in the future. It's set in a little town, and the guy falls in love with me. It's very non-genre. So yeah, so no.
And besides all these sci-fi shows, you've been on 2 big families of series. On CSI, you were on CSI Miami and CSI New York, and on NCIS and NCIS LA. What would you say is the difference? For example, an approach on a set, or with all these people playing on it. Are there any differences between these 2 families of series?
With CSI and NCIS?
Yeah.
Well, they're all really well-run shows. I actually just read from the creators of NCIS a new show that they're doing, and I think that when you're successful in creating, you know, a franchise of shows, there's just a flow to things. You know, you're not sort of there's very professional, you know, sets, and that was the case on CSI and NCIS on both of those shows, and Stargate for that matter. Stargate Universe was the 3rd incarnation of Stargate, which was, you know, the spin-off of the movie. So no, it's just it's just work.
Yeah, just we heard from completely another actor that the CSI guys are a bit of assholes.
One guy, yeah.
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 Just one. Okay.
Yeah. This one. That's That's all I'll say.
And
I'm sure the reputation speaks for itself. Everybody knows, right? So.
Yeah, we don't here.
Really?
No, we don't. Was it in Miami or was it in?
Yeah, Miami.
Miami.
Yeah. Adam Rodriguez is a saint. That's all I'm gonna say. So is the other guy. He's just really interesting. Like he should have a show about himself. Seriously.
Yeah, maybe
It's just really, really like I don't get it. It's very like elusive and anyway.
Go on.
Oh, the drama.
yeah. And well, that's
There's
somehow.
drama on all sets, though. I just want to say that. There's I mean, there's always one person who's either really insecure or. I mean, it's just like anything. You work with a bunch of people, and it gets weird at some points, and someone has an ego, and someone feels unfairly, done whatever, and then when you deal with a bunch of actors who are sort of like aloof and a little maybe socially stupid, it happens, and a lot of times it's women. A lot of times it's hard to work with women. Women can be super bitchy. It's true. And I'm really grateful. Like Stargate was the best. We had our own drama, but like anything, you just have to manage it.
And I can't help to ask because I'm a huge SG-1 fan and a huge fan of Colonel O'Neill. So have you met Richard Dean Anderson? And
Yeah.
how was he?
He's great. He's great. He's just he's like the head of the family. I met him once briefly, and that's about it. I love to death Amanda Tapping, and I know her well. And this is interesting though because there was a lot of like when we started SGU, we were getting like hate mail and people were protesting outside the studio. We were like, oh my gosh, we just got a job. I don't understand why everyone hates us so much. And even until this day, we'll go to these conventions and people have been like trash talking us, and to the point where a few people wanted to quit after the first season. And I just didn't understand it. And a lot of it came from Joe Flanagan from Atlantis. He was like on Twitter just talking a lot of shit. So Joe Flanagan, I got a bone to pick with you, brother. I've never met him. I don't know why he has so much against us. But anyways, our show's canceled. I'm sure he's very happy. You won.
Okay. And do you have any kind of weird actor experience besides this hate mail from your own colleague, basically?
Yeah, from my colleague. That's great. It's always really weird when you have to kiss somebody.
Really?
Yeah, like Louie and I are really good friends, Colonel Young. And we only met on Stargate, and we were supposed to be lovers and have this affair, and he's like the biggest goofball in the world. We live like a mile away from each other. I see him all the time, although he's actually in Vancouver right now doing a new show, a crime show. So again, not with the what's it called? Typecasting. Sorry. Jet lag. Yeah, so he and I are really good friends, and yeah, it's very weird when you have to kiss somebody on set. It's like you're talking, like you're at work and you're, in the break room, and you're just like, oh my gosh, yeah, did you see the last Batman? Yeah, it was so great. Hey, you two kiss. And everybody's quiet, and the camera's like this far away from your face. It's weird.
Does the guys have the same problem?
I don't know, that's a good question. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a little like performance anxiety.
Oh, he's gonna be good in a...
I think so.
Understand.
It's gotta be a little bit.
Okay. So I guess, because our time is almost up, I guess you guys can, well, I guess we check now, sorry. Další otázky a můžete se před zeptat mimochodem třeba i na ty Maxim fotky, který upřímně nechápu, jak po tolika těhotenstvích dokázala takhle nafotit. Já se s tím tady pokecám ještě o nějakým diet a exercise programu.
Maxim and diet exercise. Do you know actually the Maxim shoot that Lisa and I did, I was 4 months pregnant?
Yeah, I was exactly talking to the guys about have no idea how you managed to stay in such shape after so many kids, and I just want to have a short talk with you about some diet and
well, that's really funny, because I always said to myself, like, in my head, hey, okay, if I'm going to shoot Maxim, I'm going to go, like, on a super strict diet for, like, 6 days before. And so I was flying back to LA, I was ready to go, I was, like, 3.5, maybe 4 months pregnant. And they were like, hey, we just scheduled a Maxim shoot for you tomorrow. And I was like, huh? I just had like a whole pizza. And I have to go on a plane. I'm going to be all like bloated and gross and whatever. I don't know.
But they have the Photoshop tools, so...
Actually, they didn't Photoshop it that much, though.
Just a bit around the belly.
No, they didn't even. No, they didn't. Actually, I was kind of happy that they did, because I don't like over Photoshop photos, especially your face. I'd like to look human. I've had some like photographers email me shots, and I'm like, where's my cheekbones? Like, I look like there's no depth. Like, please, when people meet me, they're not even gonna know who I am. Not that they do anyway. And no one ever recognizes me.
Or they say that you're Charlie Theron.
Yes, they say that's fun. Charlize Theron or Ashley Judd. Okay. I'll take it. No, I was in this restaurant where I live with the kids, and it was like the afternoon. We had some pasta and I was getting some gelato, and I had my gray sweatshirt on that we got as a wrap gift, a gray sweater, and in the very back, right here, in this big, it says SGU in gray, so it's gray on gray. And I'm there, we're having ice cream, and this guy walks in, and he's like, "Oh, did you work on that show?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "The show." I said, "What show?" And he's like, "Your hoodie, SGU." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "Oh, such a great show." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." He's like, "It was the best cast, all the Stargates, my favorite one." I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." He's like, "I'm so bummed they canceled it." I'm like, "Thanks." No idea who I was.
Okay, but all these guys now know who you are.
Takže pokud byste měli Maxim...
Diet exercise. I run. I like to run until my heart feels like it's going to explode. That's how I know I'm done. And I feel like I'm just going to like... I usually run about 3 or 4 miles a day. I do Taibo. Remember Taibo, Billy Blanks?
Yeah.
He closed his studio. I used to do his class in his studio in LA, but he closed his studio. But his brother and sister opened one. It's called Body Theory, and it's like a mile away from my house. And so I go there a couple times a week. I spin. I like to swim, except for it's such a pain to do my hair, so I don't really swim that much. Yeah, and then, you know, I do a lot of yoga. I chase kids. I do a lot of laundry. I forget to eat all the time.
Yeah, so I guess become a mom of 4 and it's gonna come. Okay.
Keeps us happy.
Yeah, totally.
Takže pokud budete mít chuť, určitě se zastavte a Alaina bude mít ještě svůj vlastní panel. Určitě stojí za to, je nejenom pěkná, ale sní docela.
Okay, so thank you so much. I'm gonna leave you to your lovely kid, and I just invited everyone to your own Q&A. So.
Oh, perfect.